You walk out of a Christopher Nolan movie and you're not smiling. You're not crying. You're just standing there, slightly stunned, replaying the last 5 minutes in your head trying to figure out what you just watched. Your friend asks what you thought. You say it was good, but you don't sound sure. That is not an accident. That is not just his style. That is a formula. A precise, repeatable emotional trap that Christopher Nolan has been building and refining for over 20 years. And once you see how it works, you will never watch one of his endings the same way again. You're welcome, and also sorry. The trick nobody talks about. Think about the last few Nolan films you've seen. A spinning top that might or might not fall. A man trapped between dimensions, reunited with a daughter who aged past him. A physicist walking through the ruins of a legacy he can't undo. A soldier staring at headlines wondering if his survival even mattered. None of these endings hand you a bow. None of them tell you exactly how to feel. And that's the point. Because Christopher Nolan doesn't build endings that resolve his stories, he builds endings that resolve his characters, while leaving the actual plot question hanging just out of reach. Most filmmakers treat an ending as the answer to what happened. Nolan treats it as the answer to who did this become. The plot can stay unresolved. The person cannot. Once you notice that distinction, his entire filmography starts to look like variations on the same experiment. A very expensive, very long experiment. That keeps winning Oscars. He knows exactly what he's doing. Here's something that gets lost in the endless was it real or not debates online. Nolan isn't being vague because he doesn't know the answer. He knows exactly what the answer is. He just decided you don't get to have it. He's said as much in interviews. The ambiguity is a deliberate structural choice, not a cop-out, not a budget issue, not because the editor lost a reel. The logic goes like this. If a film spends 2.5 hours building a character who has to choose between an illusion that feels better and a reality that feels worse, then the ending has to force you into that same choice. If Nolan simply reveals the objective truth on screen, he's answered the question for you. And in doing so, he's taken away the exact dilemma the whole movie was about, which would be, frankly, rude. So instead, he engineers endings that are technically answerable if you pay close enough attention. Costume details, prop continuity, subtle audio cues. But emotionally unresolved no matter how carefully you watch. You can go online right now and find frame-by-frame breakdowns arguing both sides of his most famous ambiguous endings, using actual evidence from the film. Both sides convinced they're right. That's not confusion. That's precision engineering, aimed directly at making sure two people can watch the same scene and walk away with opposite conclusions, both feeling completely justified, and both immediately going to find someone to argue with about it. It's always about time. Here's the second layer most people miss. Almost every Nolan ending isn't really about plot resolution at all. It's about time finally catching up with someone. Look at the structure of his films as a whole. He constantly plays with time, reversing it, splitting it into parallel threads, stretching it so an hour in one place equals decades in another. That's not just a cool visual trick. It's thematic. Nolan's characters are almost always racing against, fighting against, or trying to outsmart time itself. And the ending is always the moment time wins anyway. The dreamer wakes up, or doesn't, but either way the dream had to end. The astronaut comes home to a family that grew old without him, because that's what physics actually does to people who leave. The magician wins the trick, but loses everything that made winning worth it, because greatness always has a price measured in time and relationships spent. Every one of these endings is a character finally colliding with a cost they spent the whole movie trying to avoid. And the audience feels the impact because we watch the avoidance happen in real time. Which is exactly why the final gut punch lands as hard as it does. even when you're not entirely sure what just happened. You feel it. You just can't explain it at dinner. Why it works when everyone else fails. Ambiguous, bittersweet endings are everywhere in cinema. Plenty of filmmakers tried the leave them wondering approach. Most of the time, it just feels like the writer ran out of ideas. So why does it consistently work for Nolan when it falls flat for everyone else? Because he never treats ambiguity as a substitute for closure. He treats it as a different kind of closure, an emotional one instead of a factual one. By the time you reach the ending of a Nolan film, you know exactly what the character wants, why they want it, and what it's cost them to get close to it. The plot mechanics might stay unresolved, but the emotional arc is airtight. You're never confused about how the character feels in that final shot. You're only uncertain about the literal facts surrounding them. That's a crucial difference. Confusion about facts creates discussion. Confusion about emotion just creates frustration. And a lot of people asking for their money back. That's why people leave theaters debating what a spinning top means, instead of leaving confused about whether they liked the movie or not. The feeling is always crystal clear. It's only the objective reality underneath the feeling that Nolan keeps just out of reach. Because certainty would cheapen it. And Christopher Nolan does not do cheap. The magic trick in the final shot. There's also a structural reason his ambiguity works when others fail. And it's genuinely clever. Nolan almost always pays off his ambiguity with something concrete just before the credits roll. A visual callback, a line that mirrors something from the first act, an image that rhymes with where the story started. That gives your brain just enough of a resolution to feel the ending land, even while the biggest question remains open. It's a magic trick in the most literal sense. He shows you enough to feel satisfied, while hiding exactly enough to keep you thinking about it for years. Meanwhile, you're in a parking lot at 11:30 at night, arguing with your friend about a spinning top, which is exactly where he wants you. Here's the bigger idea underneath all of this. Most blockbuster filmmaking treats the ending as a reward, a release valve after 2 hours of tension designed to make you feel good and walk out satisfied. Nolan treats the ending as a mirror. He's not trying to release your tension. He's handing you the same unresolved question his character has been carrying the entire film, and letting you sit with it exactly the way they had to. An ending that answers everything gets remembered as a good movie. An ending that makes you argue with a friend in the parking lot at midnight gets remembered as an experience. Nolan isn't building endings. He's building arguments that never fully resolve. And somehow, that's exactly what keeps people coming back. So the next time you walk out of a Nolan film feeling that particular kind of stunned silence, know that it's not confusion. It's not a plot hole. It's a deliberate emotional mechanism, built film after film, designed to make certainty impossible and feeling undeniable. You didn't miss something. He just didn't tell you. On purpose. Drop a like, it's the only closure this video is going to give you. Drop a comment below. We want to hear what you think. So, subscribe for more deep dives like this one. See you in the next one.